Hey, it's Tuesday still. This is Trekland HQ, and we are live. Was that the quietest modern Star Trek day ever? Episode 367 of Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47, and yes, through Trekland Tracks. Your home for getting a customized, you make it, I help you, your own customized away mission around Greater SoCal to 4 location filming sites from all the Star Treks filmed in SoCal. Whew. What a great, awesome 6-hour day we'll have. Check it all out at treklandtreks.com because, this heat wave is finally breaking. We're going to have an awesome fall and winter and spring. You should plan your trip to LA accordingly. Yes. We're here at Trekland Tuesdays Live, which is your home for clarity, sanity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. So, welcome everybody to another Tuesday. It's so good to see you. Hey, if you are new to us, if you just found your way here, welcome. Jump into the chat. Make sure you have your chat button, your chat room going, because we've got a great TTL community. They're all around the world. People come and go. You never know who's going to turn up in this chat room at times, because this time of day we can be global and welcome everybody from around the world. It's really nice. That was my intention. And if you are a veteran TTLer, well, you know the score. If you're following us with YouTube or Twitch, you're going to see all the comments. If you're only on Facebook, you're only going to see Facebook comments in the chat. So if you wonder why everybody's ignoring you, maybe it's because you're on Facebook. So come on over to YouTube if you can. That's the best. And that's the place where I have super chats. So if you are so inclined, I always appreciate a little silver if you could do a super chat donation. And I will get to those questions first. But I say that because you veterans know we're going to talk here on today's topic, and then I will hit questions after a short mini break. We will back scroll so nothing will get left out. And today, we're still in this kind of subdued, quiet time. I mean, hey, football's back, American football, on both college and pro level. It's fall. Kids are back to school. A lot of kids have been back in school in the States since the middle of August. But it's definitely getting on down the line. Hey, we're in the height of fire season here, and oh my God, I have an orange glow outside my window, not from anything close by, just, maybe 30, 40 miles away, 50 miles away. And then there's an orange glow coming from all things political right now. But here in Star Trek world, we just celebrated another Star Trek day. If you didn't miss it, did you blink? Were you distracted? Did you do an extra long grocery shopping run and miss it? Did you finally complete the sheetrocking on your door wall and miss it? I don't blame you. This has been one of the lightest of, I say, the modern Star Trek days. And you know what Star Trek is? Star Trek is just the anniversary of the first airing of the first Star Trek episode, which obviously was the original series on September 8th, 1966. I don't have to tell you all that. What I do have to say from time to time is, yes, I know for nearly 10 years now, we've all realized that it aired when no one cared and no one was looking. There was no master promotional playbook that anybody got their knickers in a twist over. Canada's independent network did buy it and then show it when they wanted to show it on September 6th. So, like everything else, Canada has to have their own day for everything, their own Independence Day, their own Thanksgiving. I'm kidding. And they have their own Star Trek Day 2 days early. But for most of the world, we celebrate it on 9/8/66 or 8/9/66 for all of you non-Americans. Happy 7 of 9 Day or 9 of 7 Day or whatever you celebrate too. It's Star Trek Day. And since the ramp up of the modern era of modern Star Trek through the streaming days, coupled with the rise of social media, which didn't exist during the original series, much less the Berman era. I mean, we had message boards, but that was about it. Well, I tell you about we had email. We had email and message boards, and that was about it. I think MySpace was just starting to get going by the time Enterprise was canceled. 2005-ish? I know my first Facebook got a board in 2007, I believe. But that's the thing. We've had modern Star Trek Day, Star Trek's birthday, basically, just the last 8 or 10 years. And yes, this is even in the pandemic, considering they took steps to make sure to celebrate. And when I say celebrate, what are we talking about? We're talking about the corporate world. We're talking about the studio with shows to sell and promote, spending bucks on having big events. Now, this bit of, for Star Trek Day, which, I don't know, when I was a kid and growing up and Star Trek was so in-house, it was not a big deal. The geeks had not won yet. And we would just say, happy Star Trek birthday or happy birthday, Star Trek. That's what we would say to the people you knew. It was like a secret sign. It was way more secret even than, LLNP. And it was not even all the Star Trek fans that you knew realized what September 8th was. But it was a little in-house thing. What's funny is, remember, fans and the private sector kind of generated any commemoration of Star Trek. I mean, I was there. I know. I was not a first-gen fan, but I was a rerun fan. And I remember, with all the hoopla about the bicentennial, 200th birthday of the Declaration of Independence in 76, which was a huge thing. And before Star Wars, we were all gagging over the bicentennial toilet paper, bicentennial sheets, forget it. 1976 was also the 10th anniversary of Star Trek's premiere. And Lincoln Enterprises, Gene and Magel's company, they put out the catalog. It's buried right now, but I would show you. You can find it online. The Star Trek-tennial. This is the bicentennial, the Star Trek-tennial. And it had nothing to do with 10, but it was clever, right? They had a medallion, had a few T-shirts. That was it. And it only existed in the pages of Lincoln Enterprises' little 2-color catalog on newsprint. And some fans that picked up the banner, right? And then the 15th anniversary was 81. There were at least movies we were in between movies, and there was not much to celebrate, to tie in. But people, I don't know if anybody marked the 15th or not. But the 20th anniversary, and notice we're talking about like marking officially the 5-year interval, the 5s and 0s years, right? The anniversaries. Studio 86 was the year everything changed. It was the first time the studio marked an anniversary, the 20th, because two things. Star Trek 4 coming out was turning into be a blockbuster, the biggest movie so far for pre-movie excitement that they knew. And they built it up. They boosted its signal as soon as they saw the dailies coming in and got it more global. It was the biggest global Star Trek movie to date. They loved it in Moscow. The bureaucratic mentality is all that. And it was also the time of finally answering the local stations and fans and coming out with more Star Trek on TV, except instead of the old cast, it was going to be a whole new bunch of people at a different time period in Star Trek's history. Not a reboot, but a continuation of the universe, which was a completely new paradigm for people. But 86 was the first year. And then we had every 5 years, the studio would commission another artist to do a new logo for every 5-year anniversary. And yeah, the 20th, the 25th was marked by Star Trek 6 and also Spock being on The Next Generation. That was the big 25th anniversary thing and other stuff. I mean, I remember there was a big movie marathon, and it wasn't Fathom. This was pre-Fathom. But on the same night, Paramount had all 6 original movies in a theater. Of course, we always took our dinner break during Star Trek 5. But I remember going to the big 25th anniversary movie marathon. They had a special pin. I mean, what did you do in the pre-internet days, in the pre-digital days? That's what you did for stuff. Everything had to be real world and hardcore. And that was the 25th. And then by the 30th anniversary, we got special episodes of the series by then. Trials and Tribulations on DS9, Flashback on Voyager. Those were 30th anniversary specials in 96. And then in 01, well, we got debut of a new series-ish. And you know what? September 11th, 9/11 was just 3 days after anybody that was trying to celebrate the 35th anniversary. Yeah. Which was happening with the first big convention in Las Vegas, and not by creation, but by Slanted Fedora. Just before they imploded. Not at the Hilton, where the experience was, but just slightly across town. At a one level, at a ranch-style big motel. But there was a 35th anniversary convention 3 days before 9/11, not planned. And that was kind of the big deal. And everybody being excited for Enterprise about to debut. And then the 40th, was another celebrated bits and pieces. People getting savvier, the studio getting a little smarter about, hey, we should market this, promote it. But, the 40th was in 2006, and everybody was a little down, but at the same time had just heard about this movie coming. So, hey, Star Trek isn't dead yet, you pundits. It won't be dead for 20 years. There's a movie coming. Well, that was a long story. And then by 2011 was the 45th. Yeah, okay, a new logo, some stuff, but yeah, we're still in the fallow times and feeling it, and feeling people got the message what it was like to be between movies. When you have movies only and you've got to sit through 2 or 3 years of nothingness, as far as official, on canon, on film, sit down and watch New Adventures for real. Don't get yourself by with just a book or just a comic that might go away in importance later on. And then the 50th. And we had an announcement of a new series, which was huge. But the 50th was 50. Look, I remember realizing about the 45th or 40. I was actually about 2 years early. I did the math in my head. A 30th anniversary was nothing. A 40th anniversary was nothing. A 37th. But the day I realized I did the math and went, oh my God, the next one is going to be the 50th. The 50th. I had the same thought that lots of fans, lots of merchandisers, and the studio itself had. We're on the way back with a show, at least on 9 months' notice, right? November of 2015. We had notice of a return, which was something to celebrate, even as people wondered exactly what that would look like. But Star Trek sure wasn't dead, and that was kind of the point. It was celebrating the old and celebrating the current and the new. And the 50th was 50 fever. Everything was crazy for the 50th, right? So we celebrated. The 55th, not so much. I'm sure there was a logo made. What was that? In 2021. But we were in pandemic times, and everything was shifting to virtual. Thank goodness, as I predicted right here, Zoom and virtual will help us survive. I didn't think about all of society, much less fandom, but it helped us keep going. And now we're coming up on the 60th anniversary, and there'll be stuff. There'll be stuff. But meanwhile, now that we've got a whole franchise blooming since the 50th, Star Trek Day, in fact, the first time I remember hearing it called Star Trek Day was that, you remember the promo they ran before Discovery? They had the whole cast in natural garb, just one after the other in Instagram squares, just saying, Happy Star Trek Day. They had it framed. I can hear everybody saying, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek Day. I can still see Mary Chieffo's cheerful face being the biggest of all, the most cheerful of all. And I remember thinking, oh, so it's not Star Trek birthday or Star Trek anniversary. Now it's just Star Trek Day. Okay, it's a thing. We're going to make it a thing like First Contact Day. Star Trek's going to have two bigly commemorated days. Okay, sure. And as the studio backed up promoting this new series and this new string of series, this whole new franchise, part 3, third wave, It became a thing. Star Trek Day became a thing. And, you had 2017s and 2018s and 2019s with trying to do live events and things, and then and having one in New York, not just LA. And then we get the pandemic and COVID, and we switch the first big live one went virtual. And that was amazing. That was amazing. But you had actors involved. They actually let a writer or two, I think, on camera. Don't know about any behind the scenesers, but it's all actors all the time. And the next year, we were coming out of COVID 21, and there was a very hesitant live show in LA I remember going to. And then 2022, I stayed home, but there was a live show that was a little bit of a train wreck, and the amazing Tawny Newsome co-hosting kind of stage manage on the fly in real time. And now it's time for our next panel, as this one, I'll never forget that. And the DJ, she was cueing it was sad. She was amazing. I would follow that woman off I can't wait to work with her at the cruise. I totally trust her with everything. Comedy, everything, anything right now, after I saw what she did in real time there. But yes, the point being that since the modern times, and I'm going to say 2017 onward, Star Trek Day has been, let's face it, a big billboard, a big commercial vehicle. Now, I'm saying that's what it's been in the eyes of the studio. Fan-wise, the same fans who were saying, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek birthday, Happy birthday, Star Trek, to each other in the 80s, in the 90s, and the aughts, and the early teens. We've all gone right along. We've all gone right along. So this year, between the combination of so many new Star Treks having gone out the window, they're down. They're done for. Lower Decks is done for, except we haven't seen the last of it yet. But we're cycling through these. Is Prodigy done for? I hope not. Are any of these done? But Discovery's gone. Picard is gone while we wait 3 or 4 years for Legacy, maybe. There's not a big push of new stuff. And the stuff that is new and coming isn't ready to be seen yet. It's already been sneak peeked as much as it could be. We did get this year, we got the teaser trailer and a sneak peek scene from Lower Decks. Just like we got a sneak peek scene in a trailer for Strange New Worlds, Season 3, at Comic-Con. But Comic-Con had all the big news headlines. There wasn't very much left over for Star Trek Day, which in the most commercial crass sense now exists as it's been built up now. It doesn't exist for this, but it's certainly been appropriated in a good way by the studio to promote. It's their own day. They can't control all the news. They have to share the spotlight at Comic-Con. And even if they were licensing conventions with Reed Pop, much less Creation Vegas, those are not vehicles anymore. The only thing they've got now are the days they could, and they can announce something on First Contact Day, but I don't think they feel like, I think they still feel like that's kind of fan driven. But Star Trek Day, if anything, it's the debut of the series, it's the debut of the franchise, and they feel like that's their marketing. And they've got the spotlight on, it's nobody else's day. Of course, for First Contact Day is nobody else's day either. So, yeah. In a lot of ways, the Star Trek Day we have grown to expect didn't exist this year. No real new shows to promote, or to promote yet. Doing all they can do. And the other big elephant in the room is the Paramount changeover. There's a lot of unsteadiness about what's going on. And most of all, it hits home where, and I feel sorry about this because I've worked with some of these people, the marketing and the social media aspects, public relations, all of that, media relations, they're all waiting to see how the Paramount merger cuts hit. There's still CBS and CBS.com people in amongst the Paramount and Paramount Plus. And how does all that shake down? And maybe they lose a lot of bodies. Well, it may have already happened in a big way. I haven't been scouting the interwebs, but my point here is, yes, we had Star Trek Day events and activities, but no live, and not even any virtual, not even any pre-recorded, hey, here's Jerry O'Connell narrating something else. Last year was also in the middle of the strikes, coming out of the strikes, and there was some pre-recorded footage by very far-thinking people. And that's where we got Jerry O'Connell's little narrated dialogue. But so many folks were in the strikes that we didn't have much of a Star Trek day last year. But we understood that. And still there was something. Now, there was something this year too. And I'm glad. Online, there was this whole Take the Chair campaign. Take the chair and get your captain. It was very, very activist, very volunteerism oriented. And that's great. They partnered with 3 folks, and one of them being DoSomething.com, which existed way before the last couple of months. It's not as much as Kamala Harris used that in her convention acceptance speech, and the speech before that. Do Something has existed. DoSomething.org. Code.org is a group that's giving K-12 students the opportunity to learn computer science and keep up with the new economy, in case they hadn't realized it. DoSomething.org is just encouraging young people to take on all kinds of volunteerism, do-gooderism, right in the Star Trek vein. And Outright International is the 3rd charity they partnered with, advocating for LGBTQ inclusion and equality globally. So the Take the Chair, and you can still get it. Now, all these links and programs have now mostly disappeared. The coolest, most active bits are not on the homepage of StarTrek.com anymore, but they're still up. If you go to StarTrek.com/mission generator/quiz, you will see the captain's mission. And all they do is they say, do you want to explore and be scientific, or would you rather assist those in need? And once you, let's say, explore and scientific study, then you get, do you want to devise a logical solution that prioritizes the needs of the many? Or do you want to stand up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming odds? These are all Star Trek themes. And they've organized this little quiz to take you down a path. Let's say stand up for the rights of, okay, where are you going to be found on the ship? On the bridge, ready to rise when the mission calls for it, or intend forward, boosting the morale of friends and colleagues? Anyway, and if you say by the time you've gone there, you get a little mostly customized thing with some ideas to send you to all 3 of the charities. Code.org, which is about coding, literally, for kids, for students. DoSomething.org and Outright International. So it gets you through that. And I'm hoping that, the Zers out there and the Alphas, sure, we can come up with a better name than Generation Alpha. Hoping a lot of folks on the younger end of the spectrum, a lot of our younger fans, saw that. Now, if you go to StarTrek.com, that was what you could actually still get at StarTrek.com if you knew the secret follow-ons. But you could still go to DoSomething.org for one, and they still have a front page link to Star Trek Day. Otherwise, it's star-trek-day. And you can take the chair, make an impact. There's a video, and they've got the quote here, "We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity, Captain Picard." Gosh, that's so good. Maybe we should have used that on Life Support Live for 2 years for our opening. Yes, we did. There's a big emphasis here on be safety and well-being, be an advocate for mental health. It's not all in your head. Gun violence is a public health crisis, if you want to get involved in any of those. And then equality and justice, equity and justice, the art of community, tackling hunger, and power to the period, about power sources. And then climate and sustainability. Get the filter out, come back, clothes recycling, choose your own service adventure. I mean, they're just a really encouraging, with these partners, and to go down all this very different paths to encourage that, which is awesome. Other than that, there was a sprinkling of products, which are still up. There was some couple of good historical features officially at StarTrek.com, but that was it. No live show, and not even, and the free pilots, the free premieres of all the series on Paramount Plus this week. You could watch all the number one shows of all the series, old and new, for free. And okay, but that was it. That was it. So yeah, I didn't hear a lot about it. Now I've been in a tunnel between just keeping my status quo shows and guests churning and getting work done here at the house with our wall, which you can't tell, but it's totally blocked off now. Just have one more piece of sheetrock to put up. Yeah, it feels like the whole world was a little distracted. But I'm just going to say that on the big time side for Star Trek Day, they were distracted. They were distracted by being in a weird place between retiring shows and new shows. And thank goodness there's Lower Decks. And all the question marks about what's going on. Is there a big shakeup? How much do we invest? Probably there's not a lot of budget for it, yada, yada. Certainly not a live show. I think they shot that wad at Comic-Con. And then there's not enough to utilize having their own marketing day. And just all the question marks about the future about the Paramount, and Paramount Plus as a streamer, much less the franchise will go on. We're not going back to the 12 years without. We're not going back to the original 10 years of you have to prove yourself. So yeah, on the surface, it felt like a quiet Star Trek Day. But I know that didn't stop. Back to the grassroots, back the way it used to be when nobody with a budget cared. It was fans. It was us keeping the day alive, celebrating, marking the day, whether they were taking part in all this provided virtual low-key content or whether it was folks having, I know the old school Angeles here in LA, Starfleet Club had a party. I know Dr. Dave's UFP in Phoenix had parties. I know that happened. I'm sorry, I didn't mention the meetups. There were the pop-ups, take the chair. So if you were in Greater Vancouver or Greater New York or Greater Chicago, I think, you had the chance to get down, sit in the chair, deal with 3 hired folks for the day, at least. Maybe you were lucky enough to see Sonequa take the chair in one of them. Maybe you got to do that live, and they went for that. So yay. And yay, Canada got Vancouver. Toronto was spared getting one more cool thing. But, nothing in LA, nothing in the South, nothing in Vegas. But okay, they sprung for 3 live pop-ups. I should have mentioned that. Other than that, it was all on us. It was all on fandom. So that's my question. It was, by any definition, a quieter day unless you were busy throwing your own Star Trek party. So I'm just curious. So our live bunch here, or if you're watching us later, make sure and sound off with that, would you? Did you do anything for Star Trek Day? Did you just get a couple of friends? Did you sit home yourself and celebrate something totally on your own, or just with your little nuclear family? Just to say you did, just to be in the spirit of things. I saw lots of folks commenting online that they were going to watch this, they were going to watch that. A lot of people are still mourning Jimmy Darren's loss, and they might have put on Bada Bing, Bada Bang to celebrate, or His Way, or even Only a Paper Moon to celebrate. It's Only a Paper Moon with Nog's PTSD episode. With Vic as his counselor. So yeah, I think it was the quietest modern Star Trek Day, at least since we started calling it Star Trek Day and not Happy Star Trek Birthday or Happy Star Trek Anniversary. What did you do? I'd be curious to see. Again, in the comments later, if not here live. So there you go. A little brief history of Star Trek Day and Star Trek anniversaries. And for those of you just joining in, what was happening way back in 2017 and 2018. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Meanwhile, we're still sitting here. We're waiting on the debut of Lower Decks next month. We're waiting on, and I hope you're still doing this, like their own little celebration of Star Trek Day, the Prodigy Room writers with that pizza party that was crowdfunded by Prodigy fans, thanking them no matter what happens for season 3. And Aaron Walke and some of the rest of them socializing about that and urging everybody to go watch Prodigy, celebrate Star Trek Day with a go watch Prodigy, and share your pictures there. So there was an invented way to celebrate that came from quasi on high, but still was very grassroots. In fact, that was fan driven with the pizza party. The writers were only too happy to pick up on it and tweeted and hashtagged about that. So everybody's celebrating in their own way. It'd be great to have word about a Prodigy season 3. It'd be great to have word about if and when something happens for any assortment of the Lower Decks characters. But that's not going to happen until the 5th season runs its course. And meanwhile, Starfleet Academy is shooting. And meanwhile, we're waiting to see when they're going to schedule the airing, the premiere of Section 31, and finally letting the world decide if they've been cautiously optimistic in a quirky way for a good reason. The messiest Star Trek, we heard. The way Kurtzman described it at Comic-Con, the messiest Star Trek. Or are people who are dreading it going to have their worst fears confirmed? When we're going to get to that point, we don't know yet. Late this year or early next, we'll see. So it's not like it's a Star Trek Day that had nothing to talk about. It was just a Star Trek Day that didn't have tons of things to talk about except celebrating the fact that Star Trek, for whenever you came to it, for whatever you get out of it, whatever your first was and whatever your favorite has turned into, we've still got Star Trek. And we're two years away from the 60th anniversary. Unless, of course, and I can't believe it's been 10 years since I said this, you want to start the party early? You want to start the 6-0 party early? The Cage is 60 years old this year. They were certainly in the middle of madcap planning it. They shot it in December of 64, but it had been a concern and being sold and budgeted and, oh my gosh, revolutionized all through the spring and summer and fall before that shoot. Get your classic Making a Star Trek book and catch up on the story. Or watch the Great Center Seat documentary, 10-part documentary, now available on Prime. They've got all kinds of intelligent people talking on camera all the way through it, with the great Gates McFadden as the narrator. All right, so a belated 2 days later, happy Star Trek Day to everybody. And yes, if you celebrate it in your own way, small or large, let us know. Check it out, and we'll check it back here in the comments in just a second in the chat. And if you're on with us live later, that makes no sense. And if you're watching us later, feel free to talk about the whole Star Trek Day situation the way you saw it, and if you partied, hardy or not. All right. Let's get on with getting out of here so we can get to the chat. You want to do that? And when I say that again, hey, TreklandTreks.com, we're here to serve you whenever you're on your way to LA for business or pleasure. You got that spare day? I think Star Trek fans are entitled to take a tour as much as anybody else in Hollywood. So get in touch. We'll work out the details, all right? And then if it's a Tuesday live, that means I've got a lot of folks to thank for helping us out to do this every week. So on my Patreon, our TTL Club, thank you, Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Lawrence Todd, Halbjörn Gunnjonsson, Glenda Bruton, Andrew Jazimski, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins. Sorry about that, Chris. There we go. Keith Rombach and Comedy Forecast. It's like messing with that one. And our live wires. Thank you to Rob McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Alan Hoensi, James, and Dave Gregory, Greg Wickstrom, and Casey Shafsky. And I say that, got a very, very simple Patreon, just $5 and $10 a level. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. Now, notice this, in another month or two, if you use the app, don't. If you want to join my Patreon, use the website. If you have an iPhone, don't ever use the app. I don't know anybody that uses the app for Patreon. I don't know that many people that use Patreon in a massive way, but always use this because Apple is adding on a $30 or 30% extra fee to be in the Apple store. Anyway, it's a big thing. If you really use your app and you're an Android user, you're cool. But I always just give the URL for Patreon so you can really see what's going on and check it out in a big scale way. So keep doing that. You won't have any problems. $5 and $10 a month, though, get you a shout out. $10 gets you on the Livewire side, gets you a access to the old school Portal 47. Old school, they're still all valid. Wonderful years of earlier behind the scenes creatives interviews. Some of them going on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, you don't get that in magazine interviews or in convention appearances even. Of course, if it's Tuesday, that also means it's the Trek Files, and we've got another visit with my old friend, colleague, and boss. This time talking about covering Star Trek V. It's the 35th anniversary, covering what Star Trek V meant in the canon when it was new and fresh and no one knew what the hell a Star Trek VI or anything else would be, much less a Next Generation and a TV redo. Star Trek V was the pinnacle. I'm sorry, that's silly. Star Trek V was very much happening during TNG. Yeah. Dan Madsen is who I'm talking about. And Dan joins me with a call sheet from the first day of the shoot of Star Trek V and talks about what it was like to deal with Shatner and cover him as his contact point and what fandom was thinking about V, both before and after the premiere. So you don't want to miss that, especially at our new place at thetrekfiles.com at Memory Alpha, the all-in-one site with the document with the audio player and with easy access to all the hot links back inside Memory Alpha, including a whole database easily searchable now of the Trek Files. This is our 12th season. We have 2 seasons a year. That's 6 years, 24 episodes a season. We have old school episode seasons. Hey, everybody. Look, if you're looking for me elsewhere, please do like and subscribe right now on the YouTube. And otherwise, I'm still on X Twitter. Looking for a place to go after that at Larry Nemechek. Facebook, Instagram, especially Larry Nemechek's Trekland, just like the YouTube, and portal47.net. Stand by. It's getting to be open house time. You want to listen for that. Otherwise, thanks so much for being here. Again, watching us now, leave a comment. And try to join us live some Tuesday at 1-ish Pacific, 4-ish Eastern. And even 9-ish UK time and 10-ish Central Europe. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you back next Tuesday or when you find me again on YouTube. And until then, stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke. Oh my God, we're being flooded with so much crap, so much fake, paid off, trolling body stuff. Just remember, if you're suddenly seeing a slew in all your video feeds and channels, there's a reason for that. And it's all people who aren't famous and people you don't know, but act like you should immediately accept everything they tell you. Like I always say, check the sources. And truck well, everybody. Oh, and we should cut this in for the edit. I did celebrate Star Trek Day in a very small way myself. I finally did my photo dump from STLV. So part 1 and part 2 and part 3, 3 batches of moments and selfies and cosplay are coming. So check that out. Yeah, on my Instas, probably the best place. And, follow while you're there. That'd be great. Okay, I'm backtracking now. Good to see everybody. Thanks for keeping up with me. Oh, well, that's Western Austria. Okay, Christoph, thank you. You're going to get snow in the mountains. That's fine. There's been some snow. Somebody said there was snow in California, at the upper levels. But no, we had a heat wave. We were, where I am right now in Burbank, both, were hotter for 2 or 3 days than Vegas and Phoenix. And then we had summer thunderstorms like back home, only they had more like the kind the heat thunderstorms. More like on the plains, upper, like the Colorado, when you had the mountain cold and the heat of the plains bash into each other in summertime. Sometimes you'd be on a brilliant Colorado Rockies front range summer vacation, as we would do. But the heat and the cold that you loved and the heat that was reality from the plains would bash, and you'd have along the front range these sudden downpour thunderstorms. Except I think they were more just downpours. And we had all-out thunderstorms with thunder and lightning, which I commemorated on my Instagram. But yes. Yeah. Was it... Oh, it was Berlin. That's what it was. Oops. Chicago, Vancouver, Berlin. Yeah, it was very small scale. I should say that Roddenberry.com sent Jessica Linverdi to the Chicago, and she enjoyed going out and sitting in the chair and doing the pop-up fun that was there. You should check out her socials and the Roddenberry socials for that. Yes, Ma. Plushy Leonard's right back there in his throne of honor. We're still there. Yeah, Carl, I agree. But if you step back and think about it, you kind of understand what's going on, right? Which was the point today. No, Christoph, I have to send this. I've had an emergency come up. I have to take off tomorrow. We're going to bump them back 1 week. So the double dose of Ask Dr. Treks for Portal 47 this month on the same day are both going to be in a week. And I've got to do the email as soon as I get off here. Hey, Dr. Dave. The Canada tie with Star Trek has been interesting, huh? Shatner and the first night and all that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, silver lining a little bit. I hope he's well. Hope he didn't have too many bad symptoms, and I hope that there's nothing lingering. There you go. TOS in the original series movies. Good choices. Bicentennial pecan pies. Yes, indeedy. I need to get a show when we get around to it, maybe next year approaching the 60th, where I drag all the logos and all of this material out and we talk about it. There you go. I knew you all did something, Dr. Dave. There you went. Nobody's house. Vendors and trivia and costumes. Well. Yep, you remember too, huh? The Trektennial. Yep. The novels were picking up readers and TNG was on the horizon. Here's the funny thing about things like the novels, and much less the comics. They could be doing like, oh, look, we've doubled our sales in a year. But then in the big picture, it's still a blip. But, good on that. And of course, Pocket and somebody in licensing accounting would care about this. But in the big picture, They've always just been so on the side. Adam, hello. It's been a while, I believe, but good to see you, sir. Why is it that I see your comment, Ma, and I think, books? We read books. Yeah. There you go. Word of mouth, fanzines, mail flyers, and you new folks. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes they would do it on their own, Carl, but I remember some of these were studio organized, licensed events. One went overnight and you fell asleep in Generations. Yeah, that's right. When they got into TNG movies, they broke it up into 2 days, I think. Well, that was the first. I think there had been some random small ones, but that was the first big modern one. And especially if it was they were telling you about the experience across town, but there was just nothing officially over there. It was so bizarre. You would think, why are you not doing it at the Hilton? I don't know. I think everybody's already answered your question on this one. In a word, yes. What do you even have to ask? Hey, William. Yes, I saw that. I love Michelle. Got to see her. She came to Vegas this year. I got to see her. Well, Carl, as many times as you probably went, and in those days, I hope you have a lot of good stories from it. There we go. Good for you, Wanda. Had never seen Enterprise at all, and you watched Broken Bow, I'm assuming. There you go. Like the lead actor, I guess I'll get to it. Okay. Hi, Chris. I think you've been by with us once before or twice, but welcome in. Oh, hi, Rose. Hope you're well. And yes, you could do this. All 13 films would basically be 26 hours or more, a little more, without a break in between. That's kind of pushing it in a theater. Oh boy. No, he's right. The plushie's right there. Now you're on better terms. He's Plushy McCoy to me, but apparently you know him so well he's Plushy Leonard. Got a movie projector for Xbox One to watch the Star Trek movies on the wall. There you go. There's your Star Trek day. Yeah, there we go. Prolonged holding pattern. Good way to describe it. What's a fan to do when we were spoiled with 3 series dropped at once a few years ago? We just had to adjust to a non-Star Trek day, especially with Paramount and Flux. That's kind of what's happening. Yeah. Well, Melanie, since I'm a network of one, and you notice there's no commercials. The only commercials are from me. No, the temporal stabilizers are just fine. It's the inertial dampers that are they're affecting the ship's bursar. Yes, and everything was connected to Star Trek United Gives, which they've done those. Yeah, if nobody else does, I will list these again. We've got code.org. See if I can just type them in here. Code.org, do something.org, and I'm not sure of the thing here, Outright, don't see it. Outright International, which I'm sure. Uh-oh, now I've got to find... Got to find where we were. There we go. Hey, Rashid. Hope all's good. Back at you. Hi, Jim. And absolutely right. That's what's amazing about this whole thing. 58 years. Because no matter what the big boys and girls are giving us, Star Trek would not be here without us. And we would not be here without Star Trek, because it activated something in everybody. May have been one of 3 or 4 or 5 different main threads, but the point is everybody came to this tent. It's amazing. Now, what now? That's interesting. Christoph, I'll have to dwell on this a little bit and see. Absolutely, October 24th, excuse me. And yes, Dave, thank you. I should have mentioned this. I don't know if this is still going. Hashtag Star Trek United Gives. If you tweeted it, gave $1 to CBS All Access, donating $1 to the NAACP. We should mention this. The other part of one other aspect of Star Trek Day was still the hashtag Star Trek United Gives. If you tweeted that, and this was certainly under announced, I would have done more of this. Every tweet with that hashtag, CBS gives $1 to the NCAA. Too much football on the brain. No, the other aspect of Star Trek Day was if you hashtag Star Trek United Gives, CBS would give $1 per every tweet with that hashtag to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the Education Fund, or the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering and the Equal Justice Initiative. But again, these have all been, way under publicized. I'd be willing to try it today to see if it's still working today. Yeah, this is the thing I've noticed. There's a lot more. I mean, the good news is Star Trek has gotten so popular on the radar that even the Comic-Cons are ramping up, and the mid-city sized Comic-Cons are ramping up their Star Trek contingent. Yay. But there's 3 or 4 Trek folks, current or former. And again, Discovery has disbanded. They're not under the leash. Picard's folks have all disbanded, and they're not under the leash of promotion, overseeing everything, little thing they're doing. So there's that. They're out in the wild now. And yeah, it hasn't really, the Strange New World folks have felt pretty free to be out there, even though they're still in the midst of shooting, right? Well, Skydance has bought Paramount Plus and everything about it. They're going to decide what to do about it. Keep it, bundle it, keep it intact, but bundle it with somebody else for all intents and purposes. Anyway, but again, as we keep saying, part of this is it's not just Paramount. It's the whole industry doesn't know exactly what the hell's going on. Hi, Marty. I think you've been with us before, but glad to see you. There wasn't an original series episode. They showed the cage, and they counted that for, right? I know some people get tired of always seeing the man trap on the internet, which I know what you're saying. Obviously, duh. That was the show that we marked. It's more like the big picture that we mark, not that individual episode. And I know that they've done it several years. Maybe they just wanted to give it a rest. I'm sure somebody thought that if they showed the cage, we'd be seeing number 1 and Pike, which leads into understanding what's going on with Strange New Worlds. Thank you, Scott. I wasn't the only one. It's just been under promoted big time. Yeah. And good points, Christoph. I know. I know. Hey, question to well, there's 10 episodes a season, Rose. If you're prepping for October, if you want to watch 2 a day, that's 40 episodes, so that's 20 days worth. Or if you want to try to binge everything, which is very doable with half-hour episodes, right? People do it all the time. Because that's only 10 hours. 4 seasons is, 40 shows, that's 20 hours. Well, I say that. You could do 10 and 10. Yes. Hello, K70. For reals? We'll see. Yes, comedy. You've done me one better. Well, Rashid, this is what we're saying. How quiet it was. Oh, you did see Paper Moon and Way of the Warrior. There you go. Well, K70, basically now what you're getting to here is Star Trek month or year. Now you're just talking about fandom in general. Fiawal versus Fajad. You know what Fiawal is? Fiawal is the old school fandom speak term for fandom is just a way of life. And then you had the counter to that, Fajad, which is fandom is just a goddamn hobby. Oh. Yeah, I should mention this too. He never did Trek, but R.I.P. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. His BBT gig. Yes, all the things. I did tweet about that. That sounds so lame. Oh, Linda, you went to the pop-up in Grant Park, and totally underwhelming, but the staff couldn't have been nicer. That's what I got from Jessica's video that she did for Roddenberry. All 3 red shirts, there were 3 of them, took your pick in the chair and interviewed you. You were the only fan there. They were collecting video. They were so under promoted. I don't know what the local publicity was, but well, you did your part, Christoph. There you go. Locker 47. Wait, what? It's Happy Orville Day? Okay. Let's see. Oh, good for Tawny then. Like I said, I can't wait to talk to her and meet her. DragonCon Tawny Newsom said she was a bit tired of the fans having to do all the heavy lifting on these events and renewals. Although I could tell Tawny and everybody else what else is new. This isn't Star Trek. This is the way of the industry. Either you're a fan or you're not, right? Yeah. It reminds me of the time that all the actors, the TNG cast and Shatner, all were at London for the Generations premiere, which became an event. They were there after they'd already had their tickets paid by the convention. That my good friend, a lot of you know him, Eric Stillwell, when he had his Horizon convention show, and he co-produced the Generations conventions 1 and 2, and then 3 fell apart because he was defrauded by his partner. But number 1 was for the Generations premiere in London, like 6 months later in the old days. And after they organized the Royal Albert Hall convention, then Paramount came along and organized a huge gala red carpet premiere. But they were all going to be in London anyway. And he's like, well, wait a minute. I paid, and we're talking about first class tickets for, the 8 of them, 9 of them. Not cheap. And once again, that was a case of fans and companies footing the bill instead of this. Well, Christian, you're not the only one who's late, so you fit right in. Go for it. Good to see you, as always. There you go. What did you do? Good mix. Good mix of the old and the new. And I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, and I'm still waiting for the successor to Twitter to pop up and make itself known. Nobody has broken out of the pack. And it's exhausting to try to run around and do Twitter plus 4 or 5 other, platforms waiting for somebody to break through. Surely somebody else in this world can decide that without me having to be the one that makes the difference. Well, if you've ever seen me at a con panel when I do my hands up poll, show of hands, this is exactly what I get at. Your first was TNG, your favorite's DS9. Okay, Rose, I think this means you were celebrating Star Trek Day. Yeah. Well, see, this is what I mean. A quiet day, but everybody celebrating in their own way. Oh, cool. Good deal. That's at Comedy Forecast. Good on you. Hey, Diana. Di, did you celebrate Star Trek Day? Some art and mumble here. Well, at least you mark the day. That's the important thing. Okay, everybody's sounding off with your favorites. That's cool. Oh, here you go, Donnie. Prodigy still your favorite number one of the current shows. Okay. Well, Chris, you're holding the fort. You've lit the torch and you're keeping on in your way, and that's what's important. There might be other fans in your town. They just might get more off on the pew pew than on anything else, but heaven forbid I broad brush. Oh, north of the border. Very good. Yes, absolutely. Use Patreon's own home webpage. Yeah. Oh, Pranakasha, thank you so much. Super duper chats unite. Thank you so much for that. And thank you. You like my Insta, so you saw the photo dumps? Good, yay. People who live in a place that no one's ever heard of haven't heard of the place I live. How many of you have ever heard of Slaughterville, Oklahoma? Yeah, much less noble. Yes, I echo this again. It's an ish kind of world when it's not a network. When nobody's paying 100% of the bills, it's an ish world. So, is this for Star Trek power, Kyle, or Super Chats power, or what is it? Oh my gosh, scroll back marker. They're coming. They're coming very quickly. Oh, cool, Carl. Second edition core rulebook. Very nice. Cutting in. Okay. Hey, Philo. I think you've been with us before, but thanks for jumping in. If that is indeed your real name. Uh, yeah, it was the cage. It was. Why Berlin? Trying to make a European impact and they didn't want to do London? There's more. I mean, after Americans and Brits and Australians, and you lump Canada in with the US, Germany is the biggest overseas market for Trek. So there you go. Okay. I'm glad to see we're getting off on all the Canadian tourism discussions going on. Yeah. Redstone tablets. Hey, I read stone tablets too, but they were on the Flintstones. I mean, I had to read what they were. Hey, Jason. Oh, come on. Even my dad wasn't Mr. Nemechek. Good to see you, sir. And absolutely, Timothy. That's what I wish. The Paramount Flux sounds like an illness. No, that's an El Cordova phrase. And now a word from our sponsor. Yeah. Okay, so once again, there's code.org, there's dosomething.org, and there's Outright International. Well, it'll be 60 years come January. Oh, cool. There you go. Did you watch virtually or were you all actually physically together? I was reading this and I said, you also donated people. You donated people? Oh, and pet food to the local charity. And then thank you, Christoph, for the outright boom. Oh, did I typo? Oops, sorry. We don't show the man trap because the salt vampire is too scary. Hey, your watch party. Hi, Brian. And not sure where you're coming from, but glad you're here. Watch party made your own Trek day. Watch the Cajun Man Trap, along with a few documentaries and a Trek trivia contest. There you go. Where was this, Brian? Star Trek is a way of life. That's a better phrasing than the old fandom. Yeah. Hey, Icky J. I think, are you new with us on Tuesdays? That's great. Was it so quiet because no one is in charge and this guy didn't simply decide to check for promotion? Well, it's in flux. Maybe you missed earlier on, but that's one of the things. There's just a lot up in the air right now, including the people who would actually do the work of getting more stuff done, and muscling things involving like some of the actors, some of the creatives, even if it's a film, even if it's a virtual panel. I just think there's a lot up in the air. And again, do you look at older shows? Do you go forward? What are you doing? You got it, Melanie. That's the old corollary, the old conundrum. Zero local promotion in Chicago. There you go. See, at least in the old days. Oh, she did? She did. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. You've never actually seen Star Wars. We had a friend, I guess probably close to 10 years now, that said the same thing when we finally showed her Star Wars. Oh, this is sad to hear, Linda. Wasn't even on the event map. Would have even found the booth. You know, well, there's supposed to be some kind. Is it something romantic or cool about having a pop up that's just instantaneous? But I don't know if you invest the money. Like, don't you want some ROI on your promotion investment? Hmm. But you're very busy all the time, Scott. Uh, oh, and now see if something like this happened. Yes, that's true. This made headlines here. I don't know. Maybe there's some lucres out there, you know, and some of them who aren't very nice, they're filthy lucres. That's a good pair, Willie. Happy Star Trek Day to you. Oh, hey, Timothy. Code.org, encouraging young people to learn programming code. Amazing educational resource, especially the Minecraft and Star Wars hours of code. Hmm. Unless they're supported by the studios, they're not canon. I'll just say that. That's just a given. Pew pews will have to do. Hi, Dawn. There you go. There you go. In your own way, you got it done. You did it for you, right? Yeah, I mentioned this. I've been saying this for since I learned about it. I want to say it was like a year before the 50th, but it was going into the 50 year, which now has been nearly 10 years. But I always throw that out there. Just people still, and a lot of people still don't know, and it's always an amazing fact. Still, yes. Speaking of the salt vampire, Sandra, who's Sandy's been a Portal 47 guest, as well as a guest at cons increasingly. Yeah, and Sean Kenny, very good. Oh, the watch party. I thought you meant something else special. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. They should do a code.org hour of Star Trek code. Okay, I have to look into this and see exactly what these are about. I never heard of code.org until I saw it listed in the charities there. But are we at the end of the chat, gang? It was a quiet week, but it looks like we had some new faces or some new names popping up here. So that's been cool. Yay, yay. Well, let's wind it down for today. Again, kind of a quiet time. We're waiting for the big stuff to happen, and I've got some distracting projects to finish here. Hopefully, some news to bring you all very soon. Got to get back to that. But once again, just going to say a big thank you as the chat winds down. Yay. A big thank you to all of my Patreons. You do make it possible here. That's why I get out of bed on Tuesdays. Thank you so much. And you too can become a Patreon supporter. It's very easy. It's patreon.com/Trekland Live. It really supports all the streaming that we do. It just allows us a little more comfort zone. I keep it simple and low just for that reason. I appreciate it really, really, really much. And I guess if I really appreciated it, I would get all the live wires, their links for another batch of interviews. Huh. Also, just remember if you're got an itch for a real life away mission that you plan with my help and my guidance and my concierging, check out treklandtreks.com there, or just come to larrynimachek.com and look at, you can get there too. You can also get to the Trek Files. This Tuesday's episode, this week's new episode, is back with my old friend and compadre Dan Madsen talking about the world of covering Star Trek V and the world of 1989 and his role in covering it for fandom, and what it was like dealing with Shatner as a director and a source. It's some fun listening. We've got our document of the week, the first day's call sheet. It's a lot of fun. Check it out at StarTrek.com. No, check it out at thetrekfiles.com, which is the new Memory Alpha page. Yay. Otherwise, gang, I am here. I'm still on Twitter X at Larry Nemechek. It's Larry or Larry Nemechek's Trekland for everything else, including Instagram, including Facebook, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things. And if you're curious about Portal 47, check that out too. But just a word, we're in the throes of planning the open house for this year, which is cool. I've got some new giveaways to throw. We'll have a sample roundtable. You always hear me talk about the Ask Dr. Trek roundtable, which is really just kind of an open mic where we talk. People want to get stuff off their chests, or I do a sounding. It's a great two-way. We'll do a special sample with all the newbies on the call, on the Zoom, and then hit to our guest TBA, but I'm working on it. And that's coming up the next couple months. We'll see. We'll see. Gang, thanks for joining me on another Tuesday. This is, 367 of these with only a few breaks since 2017. So I appreciate everybody joining us here. Please spread the word. Residual happy Star Trek Day. Tell your friends about everything Trekland or whatever slice flavor you enjoy. And if it's just coming by here, that's cool too. Thanks for all the raiders in the chat this time. Wherever you were coming from, wherever you're heading out. But most of all, please stay healthy, do all the things. Don't take it lightly. And stay woke. Check the sources. And trek well, everybody.